first, you are going to take a packet of cookies and you are going to open them up. As you can see, I was just struggling a little bit to open them up, but these are just store-bought chocolate chip cookies. Then you can add the cookies to a food processor or a blender, or you can even add them to a Ziploc baggie and crush them up with like a rolling pin. I used 12 chocolate chip cookies for this recipe, so I had like a sleeve left in the package. But yeah, you just add it into whatever machine you're going to use to blend it and make sure it has a nice consistency of a crust. So here I am blending up the cookies, and I just blended it up until they were nice and not chunky and on medium speed. And I'm very happy with this progress. I think I really am going to win this pie baking competition. So you are going to add your pie crust into your pie pan, and I'm just using an aluminum pie pan that I bought from the dollar store because I didn't want to have to clean up a pie sheet. I sprinkled a tablespoon of sugar on top and then poured in 4 tablespoons or half a stick of butter into the pie crust. I ended up needing to use more butter, so I went and melted some more, but then I just used my hands because your hands are a great tool to blend in the butter and the sugar with the cookies and patted it down until it was hard and thick enough to create a pie crust like so. Make sure your oven is preheated at 325 and bake for 8 to 10 minutes. Now that your pie crust is done, you're going to pour in a cup and a half of powdered sugar, and that is what I am doing right now. I'm pouring a cup and a half, and I'm just checking to make sure that it is correct. And then you are going to get 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese and add that to your mixture. And then you are going to add a half a cup of peanut butter and add that to your powdered sugar, and then mix together until smooth with a handheld mixer or a mixing bowl. And then add in a splash of vanilla. And then you are going to mix in 1 8-ounce tub of Cool Whip. So now that your pie filling is done, you are going to pour it into your crust that has been cooling from it being made. So just pour an even amount of the filling on to the crust. Now you're going to take a second tub of 8-ounce whip topping and add to the top of your filled pie. Now is the fun, and this is when you get to decorate the top of your pie. You can decorate however you want. You can make your own ganache. I am using cut up Reese's. I cut them up in half, and I'm just going to line the pie with them, and then I'm going to add some Heath Bar on top of the pie to give it an extra crunch. So this is the final product for the Reese's candy bar Heath bar pie, and I don't know about y'all, but I think it is delicious. It is perfect for the chocolate lover, and I really think I'm going to win this pie bake-off, so the other girls on the team better watch out. Ta-da!
Okay, so now I'm gonna walk you guys through making my homemade pie crust. This crust is one of my favorites. It tastes almost like a shortbread cookie and it's so light and flaky and delicious. So you're gonna start off with 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and then I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt. And then our next step is to add some vegetable shortening and butter. Vegetable shortening is what gives it the shortbread cookie type texture. If you don't have vegetable shortening on hand, you can totally use all butter, but I really like using shortening, so up to you. Now you can see here I'm just using, actually it's a cheese grater to grate my butter and shortening into my flour. And this just makes cutting your pie crust dough together a little bit easier in my opinion. I don't really like cutting in pie dough. It takes forever and a lot of muscle. So this way I can just shred my butter. It gets all the little pieces in there so you get nice, small, buttery texture into your pie crust, and it's great. So make sure you get all your butter in there because I almost forgot some. So once it's all grated in, then you can just take a fork, a pastry cutter, 2 butter knives, whatever you have, and you want to mix all of those ingredients together. Like I said, you want a coarse mixture of, pea-sized clumps of butter mixed in with your dry ingredients. So once we get that going, we will be adding our wet ingredients. And so that consists of 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, which I know sounds unusual, but it really makes magic in this crust, and cold water. So it's really important that your butter and your water that you're using for your pie crust is really, really cold. I like to use butter fresh out the fridge. Make sure you don't let it sit on the counter and get soft. And then you'll notice my water actually has ice in it. So I've been letting it sit as ice water on the counter. So it's really, really cold. You want to make sure your butter doesn't melt. That's going to give you that, those little butter bites in your pie crust. So, and then you just got to get in there with your hands. Your hands are the best tool to give you a good mashed together pie crust. So once I get all my ingredients, they're kind of forming a ball. Then we're going to put it on the counter. Make sure you have clean counters, flour it, and we're going to knead it and cut it up. This recipe will actually give you 2 pie crusts. If you're making 9-inch pie crust, it'll be perfect for 2. If you are using an 8-inch or a smaller pie pan, then you can obviously get more out of it. So I just form a nice even ball, and then we're going to cut it in half to get 2 even portions for our crust. And I'm going to roll it out with a rolling pin, and there we go. So then once you have your pie crust all rolled out, we're going to work on getting it into our pie pan. So I decided to actually do a braided crust for the pecan pie to just make it a little fancy, and the crust is the best part, so the braid gives you a nice thick bite of crust. So you can see I already have some braided behind me. Once you get them braided, I just am taking some water and putting it around the pie crust to make sure that that dough sticks. So I'll show you here in a minute how I braided it together. But see, look how pretty it is. You just braid it like a piece of hair, right? 3 strands over and over. And it's okay if the dough breaks. I was having to kind of patch other pieces together, see, and it turned out just fine. So then I used my pie scraper to just kind of lift it up so it stayed all together in one piece. And we're just gonna stick it on our pie dough. Look at that. So we're gonna bake the pecan at 350 as well. And so once you get your oven preheated, we're gonna make our filling. Let me forewarn you, this pecan pie filling is going to be a winner. This is the best pecan pie I've ever made. I always get compliments. I always get asked for the recipe. So this is for sure gonna win. So you're definitely gonna start with sugar. It's the best part of the pie. Pecan pie is very, very sugary. No counting carbs or calories here. So we are starting off with 1 cup of white sugar, 3 tablespoons of packed brown sugar, and then a whole cup of light corn syrup. So once that all gets in there, then we are going to add our next ingredients. I have some melted butter. That's a 1/3 cup of melted butter. I have 3 whole eggs that I've already just whisked in a bowl. About a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we're going to mix all of that together for our filling. So as I'm mixing that, the next step is to get your pecans into your pie shell. Now, you'll see back there that my pecans are chopped, and this is a personal preference. I see a lot of people who use pecan halves in their pecan pie, and that's completely up to you. I find that when I use pecan halves, they kind of all just float to the top, and then you just have like a pecan crust. But using the little tiny pieces of pecans, it allows them to be all throughout the filling, and it just gives it a really good crunch, and you just get more bites of pecan, which is what I like. So I spread it all out on the bottom. And then we're gonna pour our filling right over the top. And you'll see that they don't even float up to the top right away. And that's a good sign. That means there's gonna be some pecans at the bottom and in the middle of the filling. They will start to float up. But once you get the filling all poured in, we're gonna go into our 350 oven for about an hour. And you do probably wanna cover your pie with foil for the first 20 minutes so your pecans don't brown. All right, and now it is time to get our pumpkin pie into the oven. So the first thing you gotta do is get your pie shell, your pie crust all set up and ready to go. So you can see once I rolled it out, I folded it in quarters to just make it more easy to get into my pan. Make sure your dough is really floured though, so it doesn't stick together when you fold it. So then you're gonna wanna build up your edges. See, I even had to grab some extra pie crust to fill in where it kinda had ripped a little bit, but you wanna give yourself a good base. And then you can see this pinching motion I'm doing. On my left hand, I'm using my thumb and my pointer finger to create just a little nook, and I'm using my pointer finger on my right hand to kind of push in between, and it'll give your crust a cute little crimp. There are a lot of other techniques, but this is the one we use for our pumpkin. Now we're gonna preheat the oven to 350. And we're going to get going on our pumpkin pie filling. So you're gonna start out with 2 cups of canned pumpkin puree. If you are feeling extra, you can always make your own pumpkin filling by roasting a pumpkin, but the canned stuff is great here. And you also wanna make sure that when you grab the canned stuff, it's not the pumpkin pie filling, that you wanna make sure you're grabbing 100% pumpkin puree. There is a difference because we're using the puree to make our pumpkin pie filling. So next in is gonna be 14 ounces of sweetened condensed milk. So you wanna get all of that in there, and then we're gonna add 2 eggs, then a 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar, and then I'm adding some vanilla extract, and then our pumpkin pie seasoning. So cinnamon, ground cloves, and some ground ginger. So then we're gonna get all of that mixed up, and it makes a very delicious and creamy filling. So once you get it all whisked together, you're gonna wanna pour it into your pie shell. Also, I would recommend you putting your pie on a baking sheet. It's gonna make it a little bit easier to move in and out of the oven. And if your filling kind of cooks over, you don't have to worry about it getting on the bottom of your oven. So there we go, into the oven, and now we wait.
These are all the ingredients that I will be using for my apple pie today. We are gonna be using 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar, 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg, and then 6 to 7 cups of apples, which I'm going to use 3 Granny Smith and 3 Honeycrisp apples. While we're also going to be using 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, And then pastry for a double crust. I just bought a Pillsbury 2 crust, as well as a tablespoon of butter and 1 egg. And what we'll be using is 1 small bowl to mix the flour and sugar and spices. And then in a separate bowl, we'll cut up the apples and toss it in some lemon juice. And once we get that mixed, we'll toss in the sugar and the flours. And then we'll begin plating. First thing that we're gonna do, we are gonna take our sugar and spice and flour mixture, we're gonna mix it in our small bowl, and then we're gonna set it aside. And then we're gonna work on peeling and slicing our apples into our large bowl. So what you'll need for our sugar, spice, and flour mixture is 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar, 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 teaspoon of ground ginger, and then 1/8 ground nutmeg, as well as 6 to 7 cups of apples. I'm going to use a combination of Granny Smith apples and Honeycrisp apples, so like 3 apples each. So now that we have our 6 to 7 apples peeled and chopped up in our large bowl, we are going to toss it in a tablespoon of lemon juice and let it sit for about 1 to 2 minutes. Once the lemon juice is soaked in, I'm going to take our flour, sugar, and spice mixture here that we set aside from earlier into our apple slices and let it sit for about 5 minutes. Once our Okay, so our apples have been sitting about 5 to 8 minutes, and just look at that difference. It is completely liquefied and have just been marinating in that lemon juice and that flour mixture. Look at that beautiful brown color. We want to make sure that's even. Oh, I can't get over that color. But since that's all tossed in and I've dotted my bottom crust, I'm going to go ahead and put our pie filling in. Okay, now I'm just gonna loosely place some foil on my pie crust, and we're gonna put it in the oven at 375. It's gonna cook with the foil loosely on for about 20 to 25 minutes. I'm gonna be keeping my eye on it, and depending on how golden brown it is, I'll cook it for another like 10 minutes without any foil. So we'll check this out in a few minutes.
Hey guys, for my pie, I chose to get my mom because at Thanksgiving you usually cook with your family, and so she's actually a chef. My sister's a chef, so I don't really need to know how to cook because I have all these chefs in my family. But my mom is going to help me today make my pie. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited for these mini chocolate chess pies. I can't even tell you how excited I am. So I'm going to start with kind of the first step. What's really the easiest, and if you're doing this from the very beginning, is to buy your own pie crusts. So this is what we bought. Pie crust from Kroger. There comes 2 to a box, and I think they're like $2, $3. So you can buy those at Kroger. If you want to get more adventurous and make your own pie crust, you can also do that. But for this lesson, I decided, I'm gonna make a lot of these little pies. So I'm just gonna go ahead and trust that Kroger's pie crusts are good. And I've tried these before and they're really good. So get your pie crust, and that will save you some time. Once you have your pie crust, it's gonna roll out into a big circle. You wanna pull out some wax paper or parchment paper. I usually use parchment paper, and you're gonna put your circle, I've actually already started, but you're gonna put your circular piece of pie crust on your parchment paper. So let me do that right now. I'm gonna pull this over. I'm gonna put my parchment paper right here, and then I'm gonna start cutting my circles. I have my disposable cupcake pan, which is gonna be my pie pan, and I have my dough rolled out. So I've got kind of measured, at first I thought it would be the size of this cup, and I didn't really have any circular cookie cutters. So what you can do if you don't have any circular cookie cutters is you can use a glass or a cookie cutter. But in this case, this one was too small, so I got a big one. So then you're just gonna make some holes. Y'all, I really hope this goes well. I decided to make mini ones because then that way it's a little bit more COVID friendly so that people aren't cutting the same pie. I guess probably somebody could serve them, but it's also a little bit more special. So you just have one bite and you're not like trying to eat more of that, more and more and more of that. You can get more than one. So then you're gonna take your pie crust that I have right here. I'm just gonna put I'm gonna sit it on all sides and squish it kind of down into the circle where it's at and move it around just a little bit and push in the bottom. Yep. So that I can make sure it's all nice and in there. And for this one, I sprayed also in here with Baker's Joy because that's really good. It gets in all the little crevices. It's basically oil and flour together. So I used that and I sprayed it in each of these spots. And then I'm gonna finish doing these and then we'll be done with this first round. You can make as many as you want. But I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So now for the dark chocolate. This is the secret in the pies that make them really good in addition to that cocoa powder. In the filling, it makes it just so yum. So we're gonna take our dark chocolate, about 2 ounces. We're gonna combine it with that unsalted butter. We're gonna put it in a microwavable bowl. And then we're gonna, for every 30 seconds, take it out, stir it, take it out, stir it. Because if you burn this chocolate, it's gonna be really gross. And you're gonna have to start over with 2 ounces more. So let's get on it and go ahead and put our chocolate and butter in the microwave. Alright guys, so after you've got your nice melted chocolate and butter, you want to wait for a few minutes. You want to make sure that's cooled down, and after it is, you want to add your evaporated milk, your vanilla extract, and your egg. If you're not too careful and you add that too early, this egg will no longer be an egg. It'll be scrambled eggs, and that's going to be a gross, gross, gross pie. So now my next step is I'm about to mix all the dry ingredients. I've already done the wet ingredients, but now I'm gonna mix the dry. And the reason you do that is because you don't want the flour to start making the dough before you've mixed everything and let it kind of mush together. So we do all the wet ingredients by themselves, we do all the dry ingredients by themselves, and then when both of those are mixed, we mix those in to create our pie mixture. So another thing, I am supposed to have 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. Well, all I have here is a teaspoon. 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon, and I need 3 of these. So I'm gonna need to put 9 teaspoons of cocoa powder in my mix. If you have a tablespoon, you can just put the 3 that it asks for. But if you're like me and you were missing a tablespoon today in your kitchen, then you can supplement with a teaspoon. Just knowing all those measurements is helpful so that you can make sure that your mixture is correct. Okay, now that I have the 9 that I needed, okay, I also have my cup of sugar already mixed out, and I'm gonna combine that. Okay, and then I needed 1.5 tablespoons of flour. So I'm gonna get a clean teaspoon. And for 1 tablespoon, I'm going to have 3. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm just going to half the last one. Because it would really be like, there we go. All right. Now that I've got all my dry ingredients in the same bowl, I'm going to mix those together. And then, when I'm done mixing these dry ingredients together, I'm going to add my wet ingredients. So I'm going to mix those real good together, and then I'm going to start putting together my pie. Now that we're done mixing our chocolate mix together, we're just gonna fill up our little pies and we're gonna pop them in the oven for about 25 minutes, let them bake nice, and then we're gonna let them sit for 15 minutes. So we're gonna get on doing that, and then we're gonna pop them in the oven. Now that we have all the pie filling made and we have filled all the pie crusts, the next part is to get everything ready to go in the oven. But before we get started, Mom, where are you? You're supposed to help me with the pies. Y'all give me a second. I'm gonna have to go find my mom. I don't know where she is, and I am really excited about winning this competition. I don't know if I could do it without a chef on my team. I'll be right back. That's good. What are you doing? Nothing. Mom, can you help me by getting the decorations and stuff we need to decorate the pies? You were supposed to help me with the pie mix.
Yes, I got you.
So you can go to a store, a craft store. Hobby Lobby has a lot of good things. If you happen to be in Memphis, you can go to Mary Carter, which is down off of Summer Avenue, and you can pick up these really cool little neat cookie cutters or fondant cutters. I even go to clay cutters like you'll see in Hobby Lobby. Anything that will make a shape, and then I use some things that are not considered part of a baking experience. But anyway, you just cut out some things, and you start with your palette here, and you'll have, I've cut out some leaves with the leaf cutter, and you can just put them on there like that, however many that you think that you would like. And I like to cut berries with mine, so I'll put some berries on there. And Emily will tell you I am very fond of ropes because they add so much texture. So I will do a rope design on my pie, because in nature nothing is planned perfectly for us. And so that's part of the beauty of it, is that everything is random. If you put everything too perfectly, it looks like that you placed it. And what you want is something that looks as natural as possible. So this is kind of a hot mess. So this is going to be our top of the pie. And texture is one of the things that's most important about doing pies. So you have things that are underneath things showing up, like that fell out, and that's fine. We'll just stick her back underneath. And then we might have some little flowers that are sticking up like this, and a flower right there. And I want to show you a really cool thing, because this is one of the things that I learned. Now, we may not use it here, but, well, actually we can. So here's a bigger leaf. And not all leaves are flat, right? So we're going to just create a little vein right here. And we're going to put this little boy right there. But we're going to curve him, because a lot of times when we're looking at leaves and they fell off the tree, they fall and they don't fall flat. And that's what the beautiful part of nature is sometimes they just fall random. So very, very simple, very easy to do. and it gives your pie a little texture that you normally wouldn't see. But what a great way to decorate a pie for the holidays. So if you want to do something just really special, just that extra mile, just take an egg and crack it into a little bowl, and then take some of your decorations. I took the berries off. I'm just going to kind of dip them in there, and then I'm going to roll them around in just a little bit of this sprinkly sugar. This is the gold tone. And we're going to just roll it around in there. And this will totally bake on your pie. And when it comes out, it'll be so pretty. And you'll get to see the contrast will stay there just like it is right now. And you'll have a really cool looking dessert to impress all your friends and your family.
Okay, guys, so the pies are done, and I'm ready for my competition. Let me show you how they turned out. Then hopefully the judges will not even realize this, but in the recipe, I'm supposed to use unsalted butter. Do y'all see what that says? Sweet cream salted butter. I really hope they don't even notice. But that's why I made it simple, so I'm going to try it. Hopefully everything goes well.
So to decorate this, we're just going to use a little bit of canned whipped cream. And you can use as much or as little as you would like. Make it real pretty. And then we're going to take one of our leaves that we've baked off, that we cut out. What I did was just take some pie crust, cut these out. I left these plain. I rolled these in a ball and then rolled them in cocoa. I put orange candy glitter on there, and this one had gold candy glitter. And then you can just take it and put it like that. Let's see. I'm going to put a couple of balls in like that. And we'll take some of our orange leaves and do it like that. See how that's looking. And we'll put one of our gold ones in like that. And then let's just add a little sprinkle on top just to accent the colors of fall. And voila, that makes a really pretty but simple Thanksgiving dessert. Hope you guys enjoyed.
All right, everyone, we have reached the judging portion of our pie baking contest for Friendsgiving. We have Miss Myra Collins and Kristen Posey Russell, and they are going to be our esteemed judges. So we're going to let them deliberate.
Okay, so this pie is a mini chocolate chess pie with a whipped cream ganache and little cookies just for flair, and a little bit of candy crunch on the top just for, fall.
I like the color.
It's also individual, so that, when this time of pandemic and COVID and everything, you don't have to continue to slice a pie. You can just pick up one and go.
Very nice. I like the sugar candies in there, and I like that there's a bunch of different little pieces in it, and it's real festive.
Yeah.
And then the little leaf, little cookie dough is kind of interesting.
And then
That's
I
very
got like a
cute,
little
very
berry,
fall.
it looks like. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So honestly, just watching the pie eating contest, probably should have gone last, because the last thing on your tongue is the last thing you're gonna. I am a little bit worried about that Reese's Hershey bar cake and that apple pie. Really, all of them, because pecan is my favorite. But if I had to be honest, I kicked butt on this one, so I'm not really worried about anybody.
Fudgy.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good.
So I made an apple pie. I use a combination of Granny Smith apples and Honeycrisp apples. Yeah, so hope you enjoy it.
Well, I love the pie pan that you put it in. So that's very nice, very pretty.
I really like the crust and how it's a perfect color, and it looks really like crispy and flaky.
And then she added a little rope detail around the top of it.
That's
which
fancy.
was very
Yeah.
nice.
That is very nice.
I mean, that's like over the top, right? So let's taste it.
Okay.
I love how it's got that little bite of tartness,
That was like the tangy tart, yeah.
But the from the Granny Smith apples is really good.
And it's not overly sweet, and the crust is super flaky.
And it's got just that hint of cinnamon too, which I really like in an apple pie. You can't have apple pie without cinnamon, right?
So I didn't really come into this competition thinking I was gonna win. I baked the apple pie, which was a safe classic. It was a safe choice, but I didn't feel like I was a risk taker. But to be honest, I just came for the pie. I knew everyone else's pie was gonna be fire, so that's why I'm here.
Okay, ladies, I have made a peanut butter Heath bar pie with a chocolate chip cookie crust. So
Chocolate chip cookies. It is a pie. It has Heath and it has Reese's Buttercups and whipped cream. So this is like all of it in one pie pan.
Definitely for the chocolate lover.
yes.
Oh, the Heath bar. Hits you right away, doesn't it?
The Heath bar, but the filling in it is like that peanut
Peanut
butter.
butter,
So it kind of balances out the chocolate. So yeah, it's really good. And then the cookie crust, I've never thought of putting a cookie as a crust.
You know, I kind of took a risk with the Reese's pie, but it's good to get out there and, you know, take risks because the safe person doesn't ever win. I think we're all going to be winners here tonight, and I just really want world peace.
So, our next pie that I have for you is the pumpkin pie. This is a classic pumpkin pie. And then we also have a pecan pie right here, and that is also a very classic pecan pie. So, enjoy.
Okay. I don't think it's Thanksgiving without pumpkin and pecan pie. That's two staples:
Right.
turkey dressing, pecan pie, pumpkin pie.
They say fall. Just
the fall.
Yes. You can tell that the crust is homemade too. Look at the little pinches marks.
Mhm.
And then the
that
braiding
one-
on that's very nice.
The braiding is very detailed, and it's a nice addition to it.
And that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
The filling of the pecan pie is just rich and buttery and
creamy and smooth. And I like that the pecans are kind of all throughout, not just a layer on the top.
Try the crust.
That is like fall wrapped into a pie. Like the
taste the
cinnamon, the
nutmeg.
pumpkin, the nutmeg.
Okay. I really don't know. I feel like all the pies were really good. I'm a little nervous about the chocolate one just because everyone loves chocolate. It's light. It's not like a traditional Thanksgiving pie, so that one has me a little worried. Apple is also a really big crowd favorite though, so I'm kind of nervous about that. Hope I can pull it out with the pecan though.
Very good job, ladies.
So if this was a really tough decision, all of them were so great. They were creative. You can tell like a lot of love and time went into making these. So I think we decided unanimously for a presentation, absolutely the chess pies, the individual, the artwork, the detail, the sugar in there, the little berries, the leaves. It was just absolutely precious, like almost too good to eat. Crust award would absolutely have to go to the pecan pie. The braiding was really just it made the presentation of it overall, but the crust of it was really good. It was almost like a sugar cookie without the icing on it. It was
Buttery and flaky.
Buttery and flaky,
Yes,
and
it was really
I
good.
like the crust. It was thick, so that was definitely our unanimous decision on the crust.
Judge's Choice Award and then an overall winner. And we had a lot of debate. It was not unanimous. We had a lot of discussions back and forth, so we added another category. So, for a Judge's Choice Award, we went with the candy chocolate cookie pie. It was really, really good, and we really enjoyed it. Kristen's favorite.
It's one of my favorite pies.
When we looked at presentation and what all went into it and the crust and the taste and all, and our overall winner, we settled on the apple pie. The apple pie is our overall winner. Made this apple pie with the flaky crust, the cinnamon, it just spoke Thanksgiving.
I think
And
the
we
two type of
loved-
apples, like it was one of these
Right.
that you're like, oh, like hot with ice cream, or like even the next day cold. Like it was just one of those pies that like you really want to sit down and eat.
I couldn't stop eating it. I ate all of it. It was great.